I have never been under more pressure to qualify a deal and get it in the pipeline.
The focus should be, though, is the quality of the pipeline, not just the size of it.
I'm seeing just way too many companies like just fail. Why are my portfolio companies always missing their sales forecast? They were already ignoring your email. They were already ignoring your cold call, but they're not ignoring your content.
You still have to create messaging that resonates with each persona or each role and communicate that clearly.
All right. I am back with my friend and colleague, Supri Patel. What is happening?
Hey, Nick, good to be here.
Good to be here as well. All right. So, Supri, you and I, we wanted to do a podcast on this because you and I have both been doing work, sometimes independently, sometimes together. And it came out of some private equity work, but like some of the private equity guys that we're talking to is like, why are my portfolio companies always missing their sales forecast? It's not all of them. Some of them have such great product market fit that they can do it. But the ones that actually are in competitive environments, it seems to be a problem within their go-to-market strategy. So I'm in terms of I'm trying to give like a high overview of why
Yeah.
go-to-markets fail. And it's probably two things. One is people, execution, and largely just strategy. I wondered, do you have like a kind of a higher overview of what you're seeing in the market? Like, I'm seeing just way too many companies like just fail. And I know it's
Yeah.
more complicated. We kind of get into the model we talked about, but like high overview, am I talking about just top of trees here the right way and the way that you view it?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think what I'm seeing at least is you have these early stage companies with really passionate founders, right? Which is great. They have a strong vision for a problem that needs to be fixed. I think from the technology side, they've been able to develop a product quicker than ever before, right? And get it out to market. I think where they struggle is taking an initial pilot or initial client, maybe a friends and family client, right? That we've all been through. And then how do you
Yeah.
take that and then get it to 5, 10, 15, 100, 200 clients, right? Like how do you actually scale it? And how do you as a founder, um, transition to CEO, but also get out of the way of the sales engine, right? And I think that there's a little bit of being a bottleneck that's going on right now. And maybe it's because products are developing faster and things are just moving at a faster rate. Maybe, you know, investors are looking for different metrics to track. Maybe there's more pressure, but definitely seeing that.
Yeah. So you and we're not visual people, but like I thought this was a good visual. But you and I put this together as a part of a couple pitches that we've done, and not just for private equity. I mean, Sure Oak's more positioned as enterprise SEO organic. We see different things. I know a lot of the advisory work that you've been doing is more on the sales side, but talking both, just the alignment between sales and marketing is something we're going to dive into a bit. But when we started going through it, we were like, holy smokes, there are a lot of things that could go wrong. And to your point, like if you're a technical founder and you found great product market fit, you're really relying on making a hire either in sales or like a CRO hire or a VP of sales hire is maybe your first one. All these things could go like, how can you possibly be an expert on all of these topics in sales and marketing? So one is consistent lead generation, consistent qualification process, and then a consistent, pipeline management, cultivation of the relationship to an actual close. All things could go wrong. So I wanted to like set the stage there in terms of, hey, is that a good place to fit? And you and I were talking about, hey, maybe we'll start on marketing and what people are missing on there. So like the first topic I'm going to ask myself, unless, this is a really bad, we're not good at podcasting, right? Like if we really rehearsed this, you would have asked me what the question, but like, what is one of the biggest failures on the marketing side in terms of like interfering with getting consistent, predictable lead gen would be the first question. I think the first thing is, I don't think people understand now or what was happening and what has happened now with AI of actually how people want to be sold to. And I'm sure you're going to nod your head at this, but people want to be anonymous.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk to your salesperson right away. They don't want your cold email. So it's been happening since what? I know back in Clockwise, we built a whole business on cold email. It was easy, right? Like people actually didn't mind me crashing their inbox and receiving an email for a value prop of something they were already in market for.
Right.
And that was a big one we're going to come back to. Are they in market? largely people are not in market, and the people that are in market, they want to do their own research. And if it's a B2B sale, there might be 10 people doing that research,
Yeah.
and they don't want to talk to you. So I think it was Forrester that came out with the research, but like 70% of the sale is happening anonymously.
Yeah.
And so people are doing a really bad job on their content. And so from an SEO company, yes, maybe I'm biased at this, but like if you want to rank or if you want to be seen during the anonymous phase, I mean, they were already ignoring your email, they were already ignoring your cold call, but they're not ignoring your content. And they're trying to
Right.
find out as much as they possibly can about you. And with AI, it got way worse because now, like, instead of just going to your website and all the other websites and looking at social media and the review sites, now they're just asking ChatGPT 20 different prompts before they even start doing SERPs. Or when I say SERPs, search engine results. And so I think people are just missing out on this. It's like when they actually get to the sale and they're in market, you might be the fourth vendor. You might be the last choice and you're too late. You're not positioned well when the actual sale comes. Like, I'm going to sit on my mouth and let you comment on that because I could talk all day about organic. But like, is that what you see too? I mean, people just, there's approaching marketing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everything you said is exactly right. And I think it's also like misaligned incentives, right? From the marketing and sales side too. Like if the incentives is always to create for BDRs or for early stage kind of, funnel leads to go from MQL to SQL, I question the quality of a lot of these leads if you're comping people or incentivizing people just on the conversion, right? And I think that's what you're seeing. And so I, I think it's a struggle. The other thing I would say is that buying teams seem to have gotten larger in some sectors, right? So it's not necessarily like a one size fits all marketing approach in terms of a value prop. Like you mentioned value prop. And I think that a lot of companies we see or work with really struggle to clearly articulate what the value proposition is. And it's going to be different to different people. Like your CFO is going to have a different perspective on something than, another person in the organization, but you still have to create messaging that resonates with each persona or each role and communicate that clearly.
Yeah. Like how many times, like look at websites now. They're
Yeah.
like identical. It's like, hey, here's this CTA, here's some stock photo, and it's built in that, 2000, what, maybe 15, like
Yeah.
same template
Yeah.
every time. And what happened, I would love your view on this because when you come in, you see something different than when I come in. But like when we come in, it's like your headline says nothing. We had,
Yeah.
I had Sahil Patel, comment about that. But like, do people even know who you are from your
Yeah.
webpage and your first headline and your stock photos?
Yeah.
Does that, I mean, when I see that, I cringe, but like when you talk to the sales team, does that lack of messaging and branding and like, this is the core thing that we solve and we do for you and it's inherent in our brand. Like I see all these technology companies, engineers, they they optimize their websites, but they completely ignore brand.
Yeah. Well, I think it's two things, right? One is for salespeople, it's frustrating because they're trying to convert leads or they're trying to, close deals, right? At the end of the day. And so it's easy for them to then point the finger at marketing or point the finger at that side of the house to say, well, it's not what it needs to be. So I think that's one part of it. But you're right about the websites. I'll tell you, I mean, this is probably embarrassing, but I was looking at a company recently and I used Atlas, the ChatGPT browser that's now there. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like scanning the website and then I just typed into Atlas, like, what does this company do? Cause it was not clear. Right. And that's bad. And I think that's happening more and more because everybody's using the same buzzwords. If you don't have AI somewhere on your on your website, are you even competitive right now? But like I think that's what's going on is that it's all templatized. It's not clearly articulating the value prop. And maybe that's part of not having humans involved in the process. I don't know. But I do think that both of those are big issues.
Yeah, I don't answer phone calls anymore because I mean,
Yeah.
if I don't recognize a number, I don't answer it. But like I do occasionally get a voicemail from a BDR and, hey, Nick, are you trying to increase sales? Well, yeah.
Who isn't?
Well, yeah. You want to increase sales? We should talk. You know what? I'll send an invite over for a 15-minute sales. Like, why would I take that call? I mean, that's the most nebulous. There's
Yeah.
no how. There's no why. There's no special.
And
And like, how many times do we see this? And like, and if I went to that BDR's website, which I didn't, but like if I did, I'm sure it would say the exact same thing. We increase sales.
yeah. Well, it's two things, right? One is you didn't go to the website because they lost you right there. So you're not even going to follow up on it. Other thing is, I don't think it matters the company size. I think small, medium, large, people don't want products, right? They don't just want a product. They want a platform. They want something that connects or speaks with other parts of the organization. They don't want a bunch of point solutions to have to then string together. And so I think if you're just coming in to say, I do this, well, that's not enough. You have to do a broader capabilities and really impact people.
How many times, like, I guess there's different types of private equity, right? The earlier maybe tech development, but a lot of the stuff that we deal with is growth investment.
Yeah.
When you come in, is there usually a sales and marketing VP or lead? I really want to talk about the tension between those two individuals, how they
Yeah.
are or aren't talking to each other, even, or if they are they doing it right?
It's funny, always a sales lead, but rarely a marketing lead. Or marketing's outsourced, right? It's interesting when you look at it and you're like, well, how can you derive the sales without the marketing? And they're always disconnected. And it's not just marketing going to sales. I mean, there should be a feedback loop from sales back to marketing as well. I mean, it's a continuous cycle there. And too often we see a total disconnect between the two or both functions being served by one person.
Yeah. What I hear, so this is a gross stereotype, but like the really strong personality is often sales. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of times, I mean, I'm in marketing, but like I have a strong sales bend, and so like I have a, I have I don't say influential, but aggressive voice sometimes on these issues. And so what happens that I see a lot is the VP of sales goes to marketing. If they're a director, I mean, they're host, but if they're VP, at least, we have peer to peer in that situation. But like, these leads aren't qualified, but then turn around and say, I need more leads, give them to me earlier. And
Yeah,
so like, there's this total, it's, it's, it's disjointed. It's
it is.
disjointed messaging to the marketing. And so what's happened, what I've seen in marketers is they're treated, we do mostly B2B, but the sale is turned over too early or the signals are wrong. They treat it like a B2C sale where it's very small transaction size.
Yeah,
It's one person. They're not looking at it. They're looking at accounts from a B2C perspective where it's at the lead level, where they should be looking at the account levels. Like, hey, that was just one signal. This is one person that filled out the form. We don't know if there's 3 or 4,
yeah,
sometimes 10 other people involved. If it's $1 million deal, there's going to be 10 people involved, and
right.
we should be looking for multiple signals around that. And so marketers are, I mean, they're just addicted to that conversion button, that MQL number,
Yeah.
and they're addicted to it because I just need to get sales off my back. Do you have any advice for people like sales marketing people? You got to work to better, you got to align around what an MQL, marketing qualified lead, is to an SQL, a sales qualified lead. You got to get that right.
You do. Yeah. And even further, right? Once it becomes an SQL, you have to have the stages, like stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, like we always see in all the CRMs. Like those have to have clear signals to move and progress deals through the pipeline. One thing we've seen when we've worked with early stage companies, recently, especially as we look through their CRM, we look at their pipeline, and we see a pipeline that's full of not real opportunities. It's just an inflated number, right? And when you really dig into the op, you think, okay, well, the main buyer hasn't even been engaged, or the signals aren't there for intent, like you said before. And so, why is this a stage 5 deal? It's not. It should be closed, lost, or it should never have gotten to SQL. It should never have progressed. So I think that there's poor structure behind progression in the pipeline, and that leads to leads to a lot of issues. And then obviously on the investor side, we both know if you're the investor and you're looking at these CRMs, you look at the pipeline, you think, oh, this is great, got a healthy pipeline. But when you start really digging into it, you realize most of it's not real, or most of it's not going to materialize,
Yeah.
and then you have a serious problem.
Yeah, I don't want to name names, but I was talking to a very successful account manager, AE, here in Atlanta with a private equity. Well, they just went from privately owned, and they took a large private equity investment, and private equity brings in a new VP of sales, and he was telling me, he's like, I have never been under more pressure to qualify a deal and get it in the pipeline
Yeah.
than ever before because the new VP of sales, they're highly incentivized. The best thing they can show to add value is that look how much I increased pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said nothing had changed about their lead generation process other than what they called a qualified deal in the pipeline. Whereas when I was privately owned, like all I cared about was close one.
Right.
That's all I cared about. That was the only metric that mattered to us in terms of proving of getting more MRR. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the North Star metric. But for us, so when my AEs, I there was, there it's qualified, it's in proposal, it's in legal, it's verbal, and then it's closed one, and each of those had a risk. But there was like somewhere like in the proposal, like I made a new swim lane called Hopetopia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this thing's been in proposal now for 6 months. Can we please stop hoping that this will be part of the
Yeah.
pipeline?
Don't put that on your report. Like you're not going to, it's not going to close. Right. Yeah. I think there's a lot of inflated, numbers out there, and I see why, right? If you're a salesperson, you need that pipeline because you're also measured against, well, if you close X% of your pipeline, you'll probably hit your goals. And that's what everybody's kind of taught, right? That you have to have a bigger pipeline. The focus should be, though, is the quality of the pipeline, not just the size of it. And I think it speaks to something we talked about earlier, which is like the incentives are misaligned. I don't know if everybody's on the same page. Marketing and sales certainly seem to be on different pages. And then even sales teams, right? I mean, let's face it, if you're a salesperson, you're there to sell and make money off commission. Like that's your livelihood. And if you're not getting good leads, or if you feel like you're not getting good leads, or if you're not able to close those deals, you're probably out of there because, that's your job. Your job is, and the way you get comped is through those commissions. So I think it leads to then issues on the sales team side where, you're not getting good leads, you're not closing deals, then you jump ship and you go somewhere where you think you can, so I think there's just this whole cycle that we're seeing right now.
So it becomes like a talent, not only talent attraction, but talent. I mean, salespeople are going to go where they're going to make commission, right? So it becomes
Absolutely.
like a
Yeah.
retain. Like, do you have any like tips around like good VP of hire sale, good hire and VP of sales versus what to watch out for? For me, I mean, some of the best VPs of sales that I've seen manage is like, hey, when we're going through pipeline review, give me best case. They break down they have
That's
their
right.
normal stages, but they break it down into, okay, well, which one are you going to deliver to me? Like, which ones you put in best case? This is a lock. Like,
Yeah.
so when I talk to you next month about this deal, it should be much further along. Which one do you feel really good about? Risk those for me. All these
Yeah.
ones in 50%. Tell me which ones you actually think
Yeah. Although a good salesperson would put all of those at 10%, right?
a good sales. Okay,
There's
so
so much
so for
sandbagging
you, a
going on in
good
that
VP
in the
of sales
pipeline.
is more realistic, understands what actually forecast. They're more in touch with all the deals.
I think it's that. And then, I mean, I'm half joking, but I think salespeople tend to sandbag too, right? Because you don't want to get caught on the other side of it. So, but I do think that good VPs and good kind of leaders are looking at a more realistic scenario and a more realistic outlook on that pipeline than others are. I mean, if you're just looking at the total pipeline and running a report in Salesforce or HubSpot and saying, "Oh, our total pipeline is $15 million," and that's a good thing or a bad thing, does that really matter? Or does it matter on what likelihood you have to close in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, et cetera? And I think it's
Yeah.
it's obviously the latter.
I would just encourage CEOs to really dig into the VP of sales background if they understand lead gen, if they have a successful track record working with marketing, because sales, I mean, this was revolutionary when it came out. It's not so much now, and the tactics are now dated, but predictable revenue, the idea that you could break up sales into lead gen and to closing, break out those two functions as very different skill sets, and both have enough time resources that are required of both of it that it needs to be separate functions. And a lot of that like lead development or lead generation is now in tight partnership with marketing. So if somebody understands that they can communicate,
Yeah.
that's why I love the advent. I mean, like CRO, what is that? I mean, that's only like conceptually, I mean, that's only been around less than a decade, right?
Yeah.
And so somebody who has both those functions and knows that, I think that's been really positive. But for looking for somebody who can grow into that CRO role, that's what I would be looking for in a VP of sales.
Or, and I mean, this may not be popular, but I'm seeing it more and more. Outsource it. Look, this is an important function. driving the sales engine, driving the go-to-market function, getting at bats, quality leads, and then closing these deals. Sales teams and marketing teams are expensive, right? And so if you're early stage, it's an expensive function. Is that where, it's an option to have that as an outsourced function. That's what people like we do, right?
Yeah.
Like we come
Yeah.
in, we can assess, we can advise, we can put bodies on it that know what they're doing, how to close deals, how to be really efficient. And we come at a fraction of the cost of hiring full-time sales team. So I think that more and more we're seeing early stage people be open to that. And we're certainly seeing the private equity side of it, the folks that have been writing the checks be open to it because they need
Yeah.
results. They don't
Yeah.
need offsites and retreats and things like that. They need drive an engine here, get some sales going, get some growth going, and take it to the next level. And then, set up a CRO and a team and kind of get that in place once you've got the playbook down and do that. But I would say our advice to the market and people we're talking to is give it to people who know what they're doing. Let us
Yeah.
handle these functions.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to don't bust your pick on the mountain trying to figure this out on your own. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, self-serving to a couple
Sure.
advisory guys,
Yeah.
but it's true. I mean, I buy just on the technology side alone. I mean, I have subscriptions to about 15 different tools that a singular, chief marketing officer can never afford on their own if unless you're a big public company, but then you wouldn't have time to look at them. I have
Yeah.
people dedicated just to specific technology tools. So why wouldn't you want to take advantage of me being able to give that to you at, a fraction of the cost? So absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't outsource BDRs. That could ruin your
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
Would definitely not do that. But in terms of like, hey, if I could get 20% of a factored, VP of sales time just to clean things up, like I would make that investment for a quarter or two. I
Yeah.
would. I mean, because I'd rather have, quarter of his time than, 100% of a lot of the people who don't know what they're doing, who haven't had a track record of scale. And if you want someone with that track record, it's going to cost you
It's going to cost you.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Everybody wants that person. If they have, and I also find a VP of sales that sold a bad product and still grew.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, hey, I hired this VP of sales from Salesforce. I mean, like, well, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
like everyone's either or HubSpot. Like everyone was on like a crappy CRM and was moving to HubSpot or Salesforce. Of course they were. It's like Epic.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, they're a VP of sales at Epic. Well, that doesn't in healthcare. That's not a big deal because all hospitals are buying or moving to are moving
Yeah.
to Epic or buying Epic in some
If
shape
you
or form.
couldn't sell that, you have a problem.
Yeah. Well, their business model is like, why should you be an Epic customer? Let me see if you're Epic quality. I love their sales pitch.
They're
Okay,
turning it
switching gears.
around on you. Yeah.
One last thing. Okay, scoreboards, North Star metrics, KPIs. What are companies missing? What are they? They're overestimating obviously on their pipeline, but what should they be measuring?
I mean, I don't live in that world as much as probably you do, but I think what happens is that there's a lot of like the pipeline health is missed, right? Because people don't want to close deals. They don't want to close lost them. They don't want to say this is an opportunity that's gone. So I think that there's an inflation of true pipeline health that's going on in most of these companies because there's a refusal by salespeople to move them into close loss. Because if you close loss them, then you have to answer questions. Why did we lose? Who did we lose to? And you may not know the answers to that. It may be that it was never really a deal that should have gotten to that stage anyway, right? There's
Yeah.
that. So I do think that one thing that I see a lot of companies struggle with is those end stage deals. So, or the end, kind of life cycle deals where they should just be cleaned off the books and they're not accurately reflecting what your sales outlook really is.
You like Medic quite a bit, right? For
Hmm.
qualification. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys use that. I think MQL's overblown or yeah, I would say I would definitely encourage people to really focus on SQL. And furthermore, I think people don't do qualification early enough in the cycle. You should
Yeah.
already have your top 200 accounts that you're marketing to or selling into that you already know are pre-qualified. I think the biggest, and I got to give credit to Kerry Cunningham at Sixth Sense. He was a researcher at Forrester before this, but he talks about these signals, and it's what Sixth Sense does. It's intention, looking for intention. You gotta track your top 200 accounts and see if they're in market or not.
Yeah.
And so that's a signal on the marketing side. I think people because you already know they're qualified. but you really know they're qualified when 10 people or more are looking, or like, let's say, hey, more than 3 people are looking at your content. If you can get that kind of quality data, if you connect your HubSpot or your Salesforce so you can actually see how many different people are actually getting to your content and you're tracking them.
Yeah.
If you're all over these accounts, you have their emails, you know who they are, and you're giving them quality content, you should be tracking that. So I would definitely encourage people on that. But on the sales side, it's about closed one. It's about
Yeah,
closed one, and you're
it
able to
is
do that consistent. It's that consistency. If you're able to, like, I produce $1 million of qualified leads every month, and I close 300,000 every month.
every month.
That's the
Yeah.
golden ticket. And so anything that isn't that 30% close rate on amount of deal of actually qualified deal creation, if you're not able, something you got to figure out what KPI within there
Right.
is broken,
Right.
and all your resources go right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes sense.
All right, man. This is shotgun. We did 30 minutes. I
Look
thought
at
that
that.
was high powered lots of
It was.
challenges.
I like it.
Any closing thoughts? I'll try to put some stuff in the show notes as resources I think people will enjoy reading. But any closing thoughts, Supreet?
No, I think this is great. I mean, I think clearly this is an area that a lot of early stage companies struggle with. And my thought, and I think it's a little self-serving, but I think genuinely looking for outside help and guidance on this is going to be beneficial. It doesn't have to be something that you have to tackle in-house all the time.
Yeah. And I think we were talking a lot about, we were assuming product market fit for a lot of stuff that we're talking about. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people view this or maybe in the startup phase. Before you hire a VP of sales, would you really make sure you have product market fit?
Yeah.
How do you know if you have
100%.
product market fit? Have you got inbound leads from people you have no affiliation with?
Right.
They're not your friend. They're not your referral from your customer. They literally found you because their problem is so
Yeah.
bad, and you're one of the ones that can fix it. I mean, that's how you know if you have
Yeah.
product market
You're
fit.
solving a
Then
problem
maybe it's
that they
time to start
have.
hiring sales and marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. My brother, my friend, always a pleasure. We'll see you next time.
All right, man. Take it easy.
See you, Sabrina.
Bye.